Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I am Andrew Sumner, and I'm very pleased to have a returning guest, an old friend of Forbidden Planet, one of the oldest friends of Forbidden Planet, because
steady on.
Yeah. Because he is, of course, the man who drew all our initial promotional posters and images that you will find in our t-shirts and bags to this very day. It is none other than the great Brian Bolland. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Consider
Yeah,
my great age.
Yes, indeed. Brian and I were just having a very depressing conversation off camera, and I promised that I would deliver the positivity with this intro, and hopefully that's where we got to. But thanks for coming back onto Forbidden Planet TV. It's always great to see you on this show, mate.
Well, thanks for having me. You've had some rather famous people on. I think you heard William Shatner.
Yes, true.
Evangeline Lilly. I think all sorts of people on there.
Correct. Yeah. Alice Cooper. Yeah.
Good God, good grief.
Yeah. So you're
good company.
You're up there on that front row with all of them. you and Dave.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So
he gets everywhere.
He does indeed. And your old friend Dave.
Yeah, we're old pal. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He is, of course, a great bloke like yourself, Brian.
Oh, Tom.
And it's that confluence between being immensely talented and a very nice, genuine person. But enough of this over the top flattery. So we're to genuinely talk about something genuinely very special, which is something that our mutual friends at Rebellion, the publishers of 2000 AD, have put together. And that is the Judge Dredd by Brian Bolland Apex Art Edition. Right there in your hand. Yes, there we go.
There you go.
There we go. That's the Price is Right sale of the century.
It's huge.
Brian.
And I think also a very good bargain at 14p.
Not bad personally. At all, eh? Not bad at all.
We can all afford that, can't we?
Borag Thung Earthlets, 14 pence. That's your lot. Now, this is in the tradition of original art editions that have become very popular over the last decade or so. Originally, this was a trend kicked off by my old pal Scott Dumbier at IDW, and since then many people have taken it and run with it. And this is essentially a real size replication of your original art from many Judge Dredd classics, isn't it, mate?
I'll probably drop it and rip it to shreds any second, but that's a sample of what's inside, and it's very large.
Yeah. So my first question, Brian, is: are you pleased with it?
Well, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, if I were to decorate my house, paint a bit of it, once it was done, the only bit I would notice is the bit that still isn't done.
Yeah.
So my feeling about it is, I notice the bits that are missing.
Yes, of course.
Whatever happened to that story? There's a lot of it in here, as you can see. There's 144 pages, but it's not everything from Judge Dredd that I drew, which and I'm sort of thinking, where did that other page get to? But it's a good collection, I would say. Well,
presumably in volume 2, in the
Possibly,
future, maybe. I mean, Steranko's done one volume of his Shield stuff, but he's been threatening to do a second volume for a long time, including his Captain America stories. So
really,
I imagine it will be the same for you, mate. And when you look back, when you look back at the art in that form, does it take you back at all to when you were there creating it, back in that first flush of 2000 AD?
Well, I suppose back in those days, as we say quite often, you don't really think that anyone's looking. You can quite uninhibitedly draw stuff, and the only thing you're thinking about is getting it in on time. You're not thinking that 30 years later or whatever, somebody's going to be making a big art book. And I think I'm much more self-conscious now about not doing things badly. But back in when I was drawing this stuff, I was just pleased to get it done. So I've only received this 2 or 3 days ago, and I can see a sort of youthful exuberance there that I really can't relate to. I sort of think this young guy was rather naively doing this stuff and getting it in. And in some way, I find it quite delightful to look at, because I'm not that uninhibited anymore, if you see what I mean. So it's a kind of a joy to see.
Yeah, I really do understand that. I, of course, as a long-term fan of yours, have a kind of different relationship with it, because I first saw all your Dredd strips when I was a paper boy up in Merseyside, and 2000 AD used to drop at the newsagents every Saturday morning, and that was when I finished my Saturday paper round, that was my treat to myself, right from issue 1 onwards. So I was reading it in real time, in weekly real time, when you started.
Obviously, as was I. I didn't manage to get number 1. I saw on the very week that it was published, I saw a page of it lying on the pavement.
Wow.
So somebody had one, read it, and chucked it away.
Wow. And of course, Dredd isn't in issue 1. Dredd only starts from issue 2 onwards.
That's right. Yes,
because
we didn't really know.
Mac 1 was the star at first.
Was it Mac 1? Well, I know that Dan Dare. They thought Dan.
You're absolutely right. It was the Villardinelli Dan Dare. That's right.
That's right.
That was pushed as with the Living Axe. That was pushed as the main strip.
And also there was that sort of war story drawn by Jesus Blasco, who Invasion, yes, that was in the first issue, and I was a big fan of his work from my childhood when he was drawing Steel Claw. So it was great to see him in there. Yeah. But for the first several issues, I don't think they considered Dredd to be the showrunner.
No, for sure. He absolutely emerged, and and I think can you remember what it might very well be in the Apex edition, what the first Dredd strip that you drew was?
Oh yes, I can. It was something run 500. I mean, I should have done the research before, but Nick Landau, who is your boss, I guess,
owns Forbidden Planet,
was the editor. He was acting editor. Kelvin Gosnell had moved on to do Star Lord or something.
So he was actually Tharg. Nick was Tharg.
Nick Landau was Tharg. And somebody had drawn the first part of a 2-part story about a bunch of bikers in a kind of death race. And Nick and I go back a bit. So he asked me to do, I'd done a few covers on 2000 AD, but I'd never drawn it. Yes, actually, I'm contradicting myself terribly, but I had done a short story. But Nick asked me to do the second part of this Death Run 500. I'm sure I haven't got the title right. So that was my first.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Was that
it's
part
I think it's in the book.
It's in the Apex edition. Was that part of the Cursed Earth, or did it come before?
No, it was before the Cursed Earth. Yeah. We should have done our research, shouldn't we?
Yeah, because one of the things, and I again, it might be in the Apex edition, because sadly I don't have mine yet. Although it is pre-ordered from Forbidden Planet, and everybody watching this can order it from the links attached to this conversation.
Oh, good.
more on that in a second, because we've got more to share with everybody. But when I really remembered, really the era that I really associate you with is there's some great Cursed Earth episodes. Obviously, because it was essentially at the time I got the sense it was pretty much alternating between yourself and Mick McMahon. Yeah,
well, Mick did most of it because he's at the time he was much quicker. I've always been very slow, so he did probably 3/4 of it, 2/3 of it, quite a lot of it, and I jumped in when I could,
because you did the great episode, which was difficult to see for a long period of time, with the Jolly Green Giant.
Oh. Yes, all those copyright-owned characters, the Green Giant and the Michelin Tire Man and the Alka-Seltzer Boy and one or two of the others. Oh, and also Mick drew the Burger Wars stories.
Yes, right on.
Which was supposed to be 2 well-known brands of hamburger at war with each other. And all of those issues were supposedly not allowed to be reprinted for copyright reasons. In fact, after doing the Green Giant story, the company who owned the Green Giant brand, the giant,
Nabisco, or one of those companies.
One of those required some kind of tribute, and I think they had to put a free ad for green giant
that brilliant
in the following issue or in a later issue. But I think some kind of laws have changed, or they've, because we can now see those stories.
Yeah, no, I don't know what Molcher and the guys at 2000 AD have done, but they've certainly I mean, I've got the original comics, but for many people, as you say, they weren't in any of those brilliant reprint editions that we used to do at Titan decades ago now. They were never in there in the Judge Dredd archives and the case files or whatever. But yeah, you can see them now for sure.
Well, if you don't mind me looking away a bit, I can find out whether.
Yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, let's see this in real time.
Okay, hang on. This makes rather boring. I'm looking at the Judge Death stuff now.
That is beautiful. I was about to say, actually, when I really first the strips that really stuck in my mind are the ones set on the moon, on the moon city. That I
can't find it at the moment. But yeah, the Lunar Olympics. That was. I mean, in those days, there was only the front and back cover in color and the center spread. And when Judge Dredd became the most popular character in there, we had to start every story with a double-page mega spread, which was, for me, I'm not really a crowd scene drawer. I'm not really, I find drawing crowds and complicated things quite tricky. But these always had to start with a great big splash double-page spread.
I mean, that must have been quite a challenge, something that really sticks in my mind from that period of time. And I think it's the point at which I began to just realise the high level of ability you brought to what you were doing. The strip kicks off. It's on the moon, and it kicks off with a bank robbery where the villains have been through a kind of face changing device. And they've made themselves look like a combination of Laurel and Hardy and the Marx Brothers, right?
Yes, there is a whole story that I drew. Didn't Mick do one as well, or did the other artists do one? But I did one that had the Marx Brothers. Was Laurel and Hardy were in there, and also Rondo Hatton, who was
Rondo Hatton as well,
an early horror film character actor with a fantastic face.
And for anybody who doesn't know Rondo Hatton, we're going to flash up an image of Rondo Hatton next to Brian while he's talking, because his face, once seen, of course, is never forgotten.
Yeah, I was obsessed with him. I think for a while people were obsessed by this man and his actual face. It wasn't makeup. Yeah. Was that one of the Lunar Olympics stories? I don't remember which one.
I can't remember. I remember it very much. It starts off and it's kind of a bank robbery. It's a robbery of some kind.
Yes.
But I was really struck by how completely on point your Laurel and Hardy and your Marx Brothers, your Rondo Hatton as well. How much you captured their likenesses. It was amazing.
Well, yeah. I mean, some people are very good. I mean, people like. Was it Mort Drucker at Mad? He was astonishingly good at caricature.
Incredible. Yeah, I agree.
It's not something I've ever been particularly strong at. I wouldn't even attempt it. No, occasionally I get asked to draw people like James Bond and people from TV, and I always say no, thank you, because it involves a lot of sort of looking at people's faces and trying to. Make them look like them. I would much prefer to make up my own these days.
I think what's interesting, and you'll see this, anybody who buys Brian's Apex edition, you'll absolutely see this in the artwork, is the progression from the way Dredd looks when you first start drawing him.
Yes, he did evolve, yes.
Which is, and particularly his helmet shape, essentially completely evolves, I think, under your art direction more than anybody else's.
This is is that not right? I always turn this around to Mick. To me, I'm more of a technical illustrator. I go for realism if possible. Mick is incredibly impressionistic, and Carlos wasn't drawing Dredd at the time, was he? He was doing
he wasn't. Yeah, because he did the first one, and
the first one, which I don't think was even published. I think the first one in print was Mick McMahon's one.
Yeah, that's right. That is correct. Yeah.
And his drawing style was evolving meteorically. Is that a good word? Is that a word?
Yeah.
And I was looking at the strain, the feet, his feet were getting huge. The helmet was becoming more parabolic rather than like a motorbike helmet. And it just looks, the eyepieces became slits. So they started off more round. So he did evolve in his appearance, thanks, I think, to Mick. And I was just watching what he was doing.
So interesting, because I don't know if this particular illustration is in the Apex edition or not, but there was a piece of poster art you did for Dredd at the time. It was like a 6 foot tall black and white poster of Dredd.
Yes, yeah, and that wasn't that the one in Forbidden Planet? I think it was some promotional thing.
Yeah, but it was produced and it was available via mail order. I know because I had it on the door of my bedroom as a teenager for many years. Yeah. So and that's almost like your quintessential Dredd in that moment, I think, on that poster.
I think so.
And I think it will be interesting for people when they look at the Apex edition, just to see that progression, and also to see all those classic stories that are inside there.
Oh yeah, they must fork out for it, please.
Oh yeah, for sure. Are any of the Walter the Wobot strips in there?
Yes, I love
those.
I've still got the artwork here to the Walter the Wobot strips, and they're big. And I had to scan them in. I've got an A4 scanner here, and I had to scan them in for the book, actually, in parts, in quarters. I sort of put it in that way, and then I put it in that way, and the whole thing was put together. So the Walter pages are in here, as are something I did for Action Comics as well. I don't remember the name of it. It was a sort of sporting sci-fi sporting story. Yeah,
because I really remember very clearly. Man, this is stuck in my head like 40 years later. 45 years later, I really loved one of those Walter the Wobot strips. He's on some kind of game show, TV panel game show.
I think
one of the contestants is exactly right. One of the contestants is Adolf Hitler, and another one is Walter. Yeah,
I am amazed by just how satirical the whole thing is. A lot of it is funny, isn't it? Thanks to John, and I don't know who was writing the stuff at the time. Oh, look, this is the sports thing. If I just tilt the book in your direction, can you read that?
Yeah, Whoa. Spinball. Yeah, right on. Yeah, right on for sure.
That's one of my really. That was from Action, but this chair makes terrible clacking noises when I move on it.
And that was that. Spinball is the Action strip, which is essentially Action's take on Rollerball to a degree.
Yes,
that's basically Rollerball on a pinball table.
Yeah. For those who, there's the Walter stuff.
Yes, there we go. Friends, Friend of that was it.
I was able to draw one of those a day. Not every day.
Amazing. Amazing.
But I was living in Chiswick at the time, and I was in one room, and I was able to knock out one of these in a day, but not every day, as I repeat. But I quite like them. I like the speed. They sort of.
I love them, and again, they've stuck in my mind for all this time, and will stick in the minds of anybody looking at this Apex edition. And on that note, the other piece of great news that I want to share with everybody watching this, is that Brian will actually be doing us the great pleasure of signing the Apex edition at the Forbidden Planet London store, 179 Shaftesbury Avenue, on Saturday the 21st of May. From
That's right.
1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And all of the details of that signing, again, will be on the links attached to this conversation, just underneath where we're talking now. So if you've ever had if you've ever wanted the now very rare opportunity to have Brian sign something for you, he'll be signing this really wonderful evocation of his work at Forbidden Planet on the afternoon of Saturday, 21st of May. And Brian, I'm sure, and ourselves all look forward to seeing you there.
Speaking of the book, somebody was talking about trying to imagine people on the tube trying to get to the shop with this bloody great book, because it comes in a great big cardboard, cardboard sort of sheath.
It's kind of sleeve, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're going to have to lug it across London, this thing. But best of luck to them.
Best of luck. But I say there is no better endeavour than smuggling this beautiful Apex edition across London. And Brian will thank you, and we will thank you. And you will see when you pick it up that I'm not exaggerating. And Brian, it's a wonderful piece of work. It's a wonderful edition. It's just great.
And he's saying that without having even seen it yet.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I have seen a few. I have to confess, I have seen a few PDFs and whatnot. And given the size of it, I can imagine what it's
I'm
going to be.
undermining you, Andrew.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm trying to sell you a book here, mate.
I know.
You know what I mean? Look, come and see us on the 21st of May, Saturday, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Where Brian will be there. Not you, Brian, because you'll be there already.
I'll be there already.
Yeah, you'll be there already. Where Brian will be signing his beautiful Dredd Apex edition. All the details attached to this conversation. Mate, it is really great to see you, as it always is.
It's nice to see you, Andrew. It's great.
Yeah, you take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon,
Yes.
mate. I'll see you on the 21st.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.